right. So here we are. We're picking up on this family app, this calendar app. I started to build this myself. I have a touchscreen, regular HD monitor touchscreen that I had from my days at Fanatic Sportsbook. I was working on their retail application and it runs on touchscreen devices. If you've ever been to a sportsbook, you've used something similar. So I wanted something like that at home, so I just bought this basic touchscreen. I have a mini PC that connects to it. So I was using it to run the sports betting software, well, while I was developing it, not the actual software, you can't do that, but just the local development version of it. So I have that touchscreen sitting around. I was looking at calendar apps because I have a bunch of different calendars for our family, where the kids are going, where we're going, what I'm doing for work, things like that. So I thought it'd be cool, put that up on the wall somewhere or mount it, or just put it on the countertop maybe. I'm good. I plan on running this all locally, integrating it with Google Calendars and iCalendars from iPhones, and having it just be manageable by touching on the screen. So I started to do that, and I said, this is a great chance to try out vibe coding. I've been hearing a lot about it. I've been developing apps for over 20 years, so I figured I could just do it myself, but it was simple enough. I don't have to worry about productionized databases or managing customer logins or anything like that, or customer support. So I figured it was a great chance to start out. So I grabbed Replit. I told it what I wanted. I think that's one of the benefits of being a software engineer that knows how to do this manually. I could give it decent instructions, pretty detailed instructions. I knew what types of things I wanted to do. And honestly, I was so impressed with the outcome that I decided I am going to start live streaming this. I don't know if anyone's going to watch, but I wanted to live stream because I was blown away pretty much by just how good. I haven't looked at the code yet. We will get into that, but just how good the experience has been using the agent to stream this, to do this live. So basically, I told it exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted it to be in HD aspect ratio, so I have it over here as well, 1920 by 1080. That's how it's going to look. I want it to be primarily focused on the calendar grid, not a lot of bells and whistles. I want to be able to navigate through the months and the years. I want to be able to see multiple calendars and be able to click in and see the events. So that's basically what it came up with initially, and then it was done really well. It has toast notifications. You can see on the import screen, it added colors for me. It even gave, I didn't tell it to do this. This is some of the stuff that has kind of blown my mind. It put little information on how to import your calendars, where to find the URLs. I didn't tell it to give me any usability stuff yet. I didn't get that far, but it came up with all this. It even added as you import calendars, they show up here. You can sync them. And then I asked it to do OAuth because I want to be able to create events as well. So yeah, it's just been a real interesting experience. I've given it advice on the display. I told it to move things into web workers when it could, because I plan on just having this thing sit around. It's going to be idle basically all day. I'm not going to reload it much unless I have to. So I want it to be fairly reliable to just sit there on a screen with no one interacting with it. So I know JavaScript in web browsers has a tendency to go idle. It won't be background, so it should be okay. We can always refresh it. But I don't know. So I had to do that. Like I said, I haven't checked out the code yet. It told me it did it. It definitely is doing. I can show you how the import works here in a second. Just wanted to kind of catch us up. I kind of wish I had been recording my experience, because it took me maybe 2 hours to get this far, which is absolutely insane. It does reminders. It will show you any upcoming events. You can import through other calendars. You can even search when events are on here, and then when you can add events here and tell it which calendar you want it to go to. So let me import my calendar here. Sorry, I was trying to bring up my stream to make sure I can hear myself. Yeah, I can. Okay, great. This is my first live stream, you may have noticed. So here we go. So basically, how this is going to work, these are just default what it came up with just for testing. I can delete events. That all works as you would expect. This is all locally. This is not stored in any calendar. The thing I'm going to work on next is actually getting a database behind this, because I think right now it's all just in application state, which is fine because most of it should leverage the actual web calendars. Don't want to add an event. So here we go. We're going to import. I'm going to add a calendar. I have it on here. Basically, you just put your calendar, and some of the improvements I made here were it had another drop down to ask you what type of calendar it was, but I asked it to auto detect based on the URL, and so now it knows. It added it. These are some of the UX bells and whistles that it's just really good at. So this used to be a drop down, and you would select type, and I would have to go in and say Google or iCal, and I said, well, that's kind of silly. So I had it update it automatically, and now it moved it into here. So you can see where it is. And then we worked with the agent on getting this color. Initially, it gave me a color wheel. I thought that would be too annoying from a usability experience to have to drop in and pick a fine-tuned color, especially if they're all very similar. So I told it to generate 10 base colors, and then 2 additional rows of those colors lightened up so that it's very easy to select here. So we'll make it orange. We have, so you can see the X code here, which I didn't ask for, and the type of calendar that it has detected. So I'm going to basically make a calendar called Fed for Life. It's going to integrate with my iCal from my Google account. We have the orange color selected here. Yeah, I'll just pick the middle one. And then it has show example calendars, which is crazy. And then it gave you information on, this is exactly, the funny thing is I Googled this the first time in a separate tab because I didn't read this whole dialogue because I didn't ask it to do this. And I actually went through these steps through the Google search. And then I came in here and I'm like, wait, it already told me how to do that. It was ahead of me on that front. So I click add calendar here, get a little toast notification, which it decided to do all by itself. That does go away, but I think because I hovered it, it won't. And then now you can enable OAuth, which you need to create events. So if I didn't want to create events, I didn't have to do it enabled OAuth. But it adds these. So as I add calendars, it tells you the status, whether it was synced or not. You can remove the calendar, which will remove all the events. If I click sync, it will go through. It was synced successfully. I think I might have one event that shows up on here just for testing. I don't know why this is not going away now. I have to ask the agent if that continues. Now I click enable OAuth, and you can't see, but I get a little pop-up here. So it's doing like a little pop-up window. I click on the account I want it to OAuth. I hit continue because this is a developer account. And then I get a little callback. It closes it out. It updates here. All well done. And all I had prompted it to do was add OAuth support. And this is what it came up with. So it's really interesting that it knows the context of what it's doing. So it knew it had calendars here with buttons and status here. So it added this little OAuth enabled. It added a little OAuth button. This was like an enhancement to an existing feature. It didn't just rewrite everything. It didn't break anything at all. It just added it to functionality and a user pattern it had come up with. That's what's kind of crazy to believe. It gets familiar with usability patterns and its UX decisions, and it knew it could add an OAuth button here in a different color than it already had. It could put the status in here, and it stores all this information. So now that I close this out, here's my test event. It tells you which calendar it's from. It tells you that it's been synced. I have 3 to 4. I can edit and delete this event. So this is, what's today? Today's the 26th. So this was an event yesterday. So basically what I can do, this was another enhancement I had. It used to just have the add event button up here and you have to pick the date. I told it when you click on an empty cell, it's going to pop up the add event. So test notification event. The date's today, so that's the day we picked in the calendar. I can pick which calendar out. It tells you here. I also told it to update this list so it only includes OAuth enabled calendars because you can't push to the other ones. So now I can pick, this event will be synced. It's 9:45. Another improvement I told it to do was this was defaulting to like 12 o'clock p.m. I think, just to be in the middle of its drop down. So I said default this to the current time. And so I can change this. I want to test the 15-minute notification. So Let's make it like 10:05. 10:05 a.m. It's 10:45. Enter a location. This is just a test, and then it's these reminders that are all optional. And I guess you can pick multiples. I didn't even try that yet. 15 minutes before, we're going to save this event. So here we go. We got a test notification. You can see it's using the same colors. So I know these are from the same calendar. If I go into my reminders now I have this test notification event. It's going to notify me in 3 minutes. So the whole point of this was to have the calendar just sit, as I mentioned, on a touch monitor just somewhere in my house. Whether I mount it on a wall or whether I just have it sitting on the counter space. And so someone could go up and just say, hey, what are my upcoming events that have reminders? This isn't all the events. It's just the ones that have reminders. So it wouldn't be every single event. But if you weren't interacting with the screen, what should happen is while it's just sitting there, if you did have any event from any of your calendars, so if I have like a doctor's appointment coming up, or if I have to pick up a kid, or if I have a work meeting, this should basically, without any user interaction at all, so that's part of the caveat of this, that someone may never interact with it. So if it's just sitting here, calendar event comes in, it told you it was going to, in 3 minutes, notify you. So you should just be getting a toast, basically a banner that just pops up right in the middle that says, hey, this event reminder went off. I told it to make it very prominent, so it put it in the middle. And I also told it to auto dismiss itself. So these were all enhancements it made iteratively. It's not something one general prompt that did everything. And it did a really great job of integrating it with the current system. So as we should see in 2 minutes, it will pop up. It will shake itself a little bit. It used to be a little pulsing, but it was hard to click on it because it would move up and down pretty regularly. So I told it to just shake it once when it loads. And then I also told it to add a subtle dismiss timer to the dialog, so that basically if the user doesn't do anything, if it's just sitting here not being used. So now you'll see this modal, same color as the reminders button, pop up in the middle, let you know what event. You could click on it to see the event details, or if you don't interact with it, it will just dismiss itself after, I think I told it like 30 seconds. I forget what it is. But we'll see that in a minute here, how that it did it all. It's supposed to be using. I have to check this out. After we add the next set of features to it, I might dive into the code of what it actually created. But so far, I'm pretty happy with it. It did a great job using all the usable space. It fits into the aspect ratio very well. And I think it did a really good job of putting the important information up front in the calendar and using as much space as possible in the calendar with some buttons to toggle. I might even ask it to shrink the size of the header a little bit so we can get a little more space in the calendar itself. So I should be getting a notification in about a minute here. And then that will be just kind of a demonstration of where we currently are in this app. And it's July 2025. I also told it to get rid of it. It had additional year buttons on the side, but I figure for a family app, we're not going to be moving around in the years very frequently. Probably just going to the next month to see what's coming up. But it did that. It moved the buttons away. It changed it so that if I click on July 2025, I can just change the dates through a pop-up that way. So if I did want to go see what I did last July or what's coming up next year, you can still do that. All right, it's 9:50. I should be getting, okay, it went through on the calendar itself. I might have a little bug here I'm going to have to ask it to fix. I'll give it a few more seconds because I know it only checks every 15 seconds. So it's possible it hasn't come up yet. Yeah, all right. Well, here we go. We got our first bug to deal with live. I asked it to fix this a number of times. So this is one area of frustration where you ask it to do something, it seems that it does it. But when I came back here, let's see if this one had it. This one doesn't have it either. So I'm going to edit the event and we'll see if it comes up on this side. So that's one thing I'm going to have it do. Oh wait, I seem to have lost the connection entirely. What is going on? All right, let's see. We have something. This was not doing this before. Interesting. All right, so something seems to have timed out We're going to try it again. Let's see if it works over here. We're going to edit this event. We wanted to alert us 15 minutes ahead of time. So we're going to make this like, what, 10:09. Okay, so what might have happened is what I had asked it to do was move things into a background process. So it looks like something is not behaving properly on the Replit side. It could just be a bug. Replit is running this all in a live environment. So as you saw, I was clicking on the event and nothing was happening when it had been happening before, and it still works over here. So the code itself seems to be working. So I'm going to sit here with the console log up. We're going to see if the reminder comes up in a minute here. And then it's possible that there was just a bug with the development environment. And that would be the best case scenario, because I know last time I was running this, it was working just fine. The notifications were coming up. They were self-dismissing. And I can click and edit things just fine. So it seems to be a bug. I might just have to refresh my Replit window, which, let's see. I'm not gonna do that right now because there might be some problem. This should all be local. But there might be some problem since I'm running this in a separate tab. It's the same application that maybe it loses session context or something. So I'm going to sit on this window. I'm going to see if it comes up. I'm going to go back to the other window and refresh it and see if I can just add some enhancements to there. So haven't done any vibe coding just yet. We're just catching up to speed on where we left off with this app. So we should be getting a notification in 1 minute at 9:54 of our event starting at 10:09, which didn't happen in the other one, but at least I have the console log open here. So if there is some sort of bug, if something is crashing, we'll see if I don't get a notification and I can't click on the event. That was the behavior that happened in the other app, and that will help us debug a little too. So either there's a problem with the Replit window itself, which is easy to fix, I'll just refresh, or there's actual bug in the code where it can't notify you and it breaks user interactions. So this is what I would do with my own app anyway. I would wait for the notification to come up or see if there's any console errors. So we should be getting a notification in the next couple of seconds here. At least 15 seconds is the time interval. It looks like it is not working. So I'm a little disappointed there because it had been working last time. So there's no notification. There's no upcoming reminders. This is still working. All right. So we're going to go back here. I'm just going to refresh my Replit window because obviously something had happened. It's not a bug preventing interactions. It's just a bug in the code. So here we go. Let's do it. And what I have been doing is basically treating the agent as I would treat a colleague. I try to be polite to it, but I also am trying to use what I would code as prompts to what I'm asking it to do. So basically what I'm going to do is we're not getting real-time reminders anymore. So I'm going to tell it, we are having a problem with the real-time reminder functionality. The reminders, the upcoming reminders. And as I mentioned before, it knows these concepts, these user interaction concepts. So it's kind of like talking to someone who's familiar with the UX. So in this reminders button is an upcoming reminders section that is different from the real-time notification. So I'm giving the agent some context here saying, hey, the upcoming reminders shows the list correctly. So we saw it. It was a few minutes away. We were expecting a notification. However, the remind time passes without the prominent modal display. Can you see if you can fix that and ensure that it is notifying users when the reminders are triggered? All right, so we're going to see what it figures out there. I don't actually know what's wrong. It had been working just fine the last time I had a session. So either there was something running that it broke, but it kept running, or something in a change I made since then broke it and I didn't retest it. That's possible. But again, that is similar to what I might do in my own code. Is I would change the reminders, all the tests work, and then you try it in real life and it's not actually working. So either the timer's timing out or maybe it's not calling the modal dialog. It might be triggering and not updating the display. So we'll see. The cool thing about this too is it's generating tests. I'm very interested to dive into what their test code looks like. But even that amount of it, if you can use it to write your app and get the baseline and start with some actual integration tests, you're way ahead of what you're doing. And as I said, it took maybe 2 hours, I think I spent with it to get this far. I would definitely not have been able to build all this myself with the intricacies of the right colors and the color picker and the OAuth integration in 2 hours. It's pretty mind-blowing that it can do that. Now, whether or not the code is worth keeping for a true production product, well, it's yet to be seen. This is an internal app just going to be used at home, so I'm not as nitpicky about what I want the code to look like or how mobile and responsive it needs to be. This is a very, there we go. So it's running its test. Should trigger soon. That's what it should look like. You'll see the little dialogue at the little progress bar at the bottom. So the functionality is all there. The cool thing is it's telling you what it's doing over here on the left. So it's telling me it's adding some debugging. It's updating the timer. We saw it show up, so we know the code still works. So there's probably just some disconnect between it showing up or not. So the server's restarted. Because there's no persistence here, I'm going to have to import my calendar again. But that's fine. And it tells me here that it restarted everything. It has a test event scheduled with a 1 minute reminder. How did you do that? I want a 1 minute reminder. Actually, I might ask it to do that too. Let me check the browser console to see if the workers are running and processing events properly. Yeah, so it knows that it's using web workers for this, which is cool. Maybe that's a little over optimization, but it wasn't working before. I think it had timed out. The events are being, here we go. Events are being passed correctly to the worker, but I need to add logging to see if events are actually being sent. So it's working through all this stuff. It's testing what the UI does. It's testing what its web worker code does. It's telling me what it found. So far to me, this is like almost pair programming with another developer. I know there's been some controversy over the idea that AI can code. I think, was it Zuckerberg said that AI can code at a junior or senior software engineer level right now. And I think technically that's true. It's definitely, it understands what I told it. It knows where to look. It figures it out. It updates the code. It can do things at a fairly competent level. I think a lot of your success comes to what you ask it to do, how much context you give it, and also the good thing about Replit that I like is this is backed by Git. So if it were to just blow some things away and make some terrible changes, I can go back through my Git history and start over again and undo things. So I think as long as you set up your interactions with a vibe code agent like this, as you would with maybe an offshore, or not even offshore, but an outsourced development team. So pretend you're working with a consultant who is just giving you code and doing what you ask them to do. This has been my experience anyway. I usually code review code as it comes in. I use all through Git with branches and everything. So you kind of, and you're going to do, when I get to the database, I'm going to make sure we have database migration set up, and we can take snapshots of our database so that if it does ever blow anything away, we don't lose too much data. But that's normal precautions you would take when working with other developers anyway. You trust them, you want them to work for you, but it's your code, it's your product, so you need to add the protection layers. You are the one who need to be able to recover from disasters. You need to be able to spin up like disaster recovery. That's not up to the agent, in my opinion, to do. You can ask it to do it. You can make sure it did it right, but it needs to be done to your standards. So if I was at the point where I was building a production app, I would make sure either I did that myself, did the database migrations, did the backups, or I asked it to write the code to do that, and then I confirmed that all of it worked. Because that's just what you would do with if I was writing this myself, I would make sure it was resilient. I would make sure it was redundant. I would make sure it was protected. I would put it into Git. So I haven't gotten that far yet, but I would ask it to use Git. We would only publish into production through a defined CI/CD pipeline. I'm not just having it push code in and run things in production willy-nilly without any checks and balances. And it's just what I would do in any other company I worked for. Meta now has a really robust set of pipeline rules and failure recoveries and rollback methodologies, and they didn't just do that for fun. I'm sure it was built because they learned lessons along the way. So that's what I would want to set up here. I know the vibe coding gets you into an app really fast. Like I could just tell it to deploy this and share it with the world, but there are no balances. There's no checks. I could delete all the code. I could run some malicious code. I don't know if it's defending itself against like cross-site scripting and things like that. So there are certain just normal procedures that you'd want to take as a developer when you're working with a production code. This is a internal, just for me, prototype app, so I'm not going to put those. When I get this working the way I want it, I probably will go through some of those exercises just to see, kind of set the foundation for if I did want to use Replit to build something that I might deploy and share with other people. I'd want to make sure it was pretty bulletproof. So that, as you can see, that took a while, but it did a lot. It was updating its test code. It was telling me everything it did along the way. And then what I really like about how Replit works is, see how this is in a different color? It has a little celebration horn. I don't know if you could see that little trace there. It is trace going around. This means it's done. And this is the summary, the TLDR of what it did. So here's what it did. It fixed. Reminder worked correctly. So reminder correctly process events with exponential backoff retry. Notification triggers precisely at reminder's time. Tested with a 1-minute reminder. Console log confirms complete data flow. So this is something that's interesting. This is how a normal developer, a human developer, would do this. Put it in the console log, run through your tests, see what the console log says. That way you're making sure everything works. And it does that. He's even before asked me to confirm what I see in the console log. Background process handling long idle periods. This is something I asked for a number of prompts ago, because I told it was going to be idle for a long time. And then modal notifications should now appear when prominently when reminders trigger. Again, that was an earlier prompt. So it says the system just successfully triggered a test reminder. You should see the notification modal on the screen. I did. The web worker architecture ensures reliable notifications. I can take its word for it for now. We'll look into it later. Can you confirm the notification appeared? It did. And would you like me to test any other? I did see it. This looks like it is working. Can you update the create event dialog and add 1 minute before as an option? That would make it easier for me to test as well. So right now, as you saw, I can only add 15-minute increments. So I kind of have to do the math, and I have to sit around and wait. If I could do it as 1 minute as well, that would be fantastic for my testing. So I could create an event for 10:06 or 10:07 really, and wait for 10:06. I kind of like that. So since I'm going to have to test it again anyway, I'm going to just ask it to add that to the dialog. So right now it told me that it fixed the problem we were seeing with the auto reminder showing up. And since I'm going to have to run through a bunch of my own manual testing, that's just been something that's annoyed me anyway, that I have to pick 15 minutes and kind of back off the math myself. So, and I think that's fairly common. I've been changing my work notifications now. The 10 minutes, the 15 minutes before, honestly not really helpful. I don't know if you're like me. If I see a reminder for a meeting that's coming up in 10 minutes and I dismiss it, I'm usually 10 minutes late to the meeting, because that's 20 minutes go by quickly. So usually what I've been doing is snoozing until start time, or snoozing until a minute before anyway. So that way, except when I'm in the office. When I'm in the office, I have to get up and go find the conference room. So I'll do like 5 minutes before. But really, I think it's most helpful to get calendar notifications right before you plan on taking action. So for like a doctor's appointment or pick up a kid, it might be 15 minutes before, so that I can get in the car and go pick them up. Here we go. Okay, so now it didn't add this in the little purple. This was, oh, that's not purple anymore. So this was just like a highlight. But what it does here is it took a screenshot. This is something it didn't do last time, but it does this whenever you ask it to add functionality. It gives you this little green check mark. So it basically says, hey, I finished this. So this is a checkpoint made just now. I don't know if that relates to Git. I'm going to go check actually. I'm hoping that means it made a Git commit. I don't know what a checkpoint means other than that, but it made an internal checkpoint. This is what I asked it to do. Improve the event creation by adding a reminder option. And it takes a screenshot of where it was. And you can roll back here and you can see the changes. So if I go into the changes, it is taking me to Git. So it looks like it added a minute here, showing 2 changes. It added the event, or updated add event modal, and it updated notification banner. So these are modified. Let's see, does it show me the code? Wow, I get the diff here and everything. Now the use state is an array of options. Interesting choice, but that's fine. 1 minute before. And then what did it modify here? It's just, oh, it took out the console logs, It didn't actually change what it's displaying here. So, I mean, as you can see, this is very similar to working with other developers, other human developers, where you ask them to do tasks, it comes in. Now, there's no code review and diff review process here. It just kind of commits things, but I can at least go see what it did. This is very minimal changes for something that I asked it to do, which is great. I love to see that it doesn't have to make it. It's pretty efficient with its code. So let's see. Can you not see my whole screen here? I thought I had that correct. Let me shrink my screen down a little bit. I just noticed that some of it's getting cut off. So hopefully you've been able to see what I was talking about. The messages at the bottom. So we'll make sure this. All right, so here we go. I'm going to, let's do without importing. This will be faster. I can add an event, test reminder event. It doesn't need to be on my other calendar. This is my local calendar. It's 10:15. Let's see. There's 1 minute before. So let's say the start time is now going to be 10:09. We'll have to do 10:10 now. Okay, there's our test reminder. There, it's been successfully created. Oh, there we go. So that worked. It was 1 minute before. It says 1 minute before. In fact, it didn't even get in a screen because it was so soon after. So let's edit it again. We'll say it starts in 2 more minutes because I want to see that list show up 1 minute before. Great. Wait, don't tell me the upcoming reminders is now broken. Interesting. All right, well, we have another bug. We fixed this problem. It's 1 minute before, but it's not updating our upcoming reminders. That change looks great. The prominent reminder works as expected now. There is a new problem. The recommended, or the upcoming reminders is not correct. It's not accurate. It doesn't. Even though I recently created one and the reminder showed at the correct time. So now we have the reverse problem. It used to be showing up in here, and now it's gone. So now we're getting some back and forth here. I might have to start prompting it to, actually I'm going to do that right now. Can you fix this? And when you test reminders, test both scenarios. Upcoming list and real-time trigger. So I'm going to ask it to test both. So this is working just fine now. 1 minute before, we got it at 10:09. We got it at 10:11. This is great. Let's just make sure this part works. I can click it. I can see it. So yeah, everything with this notification, all the UI is working fine. There's its test reminder. So now what I've asked it to do is fix the upcoming reminders list. Maybe it just was because it was a minute and it wasn't checking for the new changes. But I'm asking it to run both tests together. So basically, anytime it makes, hopefully it will keep this, keep that in mind. Yeah, that's what I thought. The reminders panel is missing the 1 and 5 minute parser logic. So that makes sense because we did see it before with the 15 minutes. So that's good. It just missed the connection there, which again, a human would make the same mistake. Oh yeah, I added an earlier threshold that doesn't get into reminders list. That seems like a very normal, easy to fix problem, and it's not an actual bug. It was a new enhancement that didn't get in both. But hopefully me telling it to check both scenarios will mean that in the future, if I make any reminder changes, it should test that both of those are linked together. It should see it in the upcoming and it should remind me. But you can see it updated the app, it reloaded the app, and now it's going to test in about 6 minutes. All right, there we go. So we got the checkpoint. We got the, we get both of these now. So we got the checkpoint with the thumbnail. This is what it does whenever it makes changes to the code and updates things, updates features. And now it told me what it did. So this is, oh, the other one was a little celebration. I don't know if this is random. This is a little wrench. It says to fix the upcoming reminder. So it includes 1 minute and 5 minutes, which again, this is a little change. I only asked for 1 minute, but I told it it would make it easier for me to test. So it figured out like, oh, 15 minutes was the smallest threshold. Let's add 1 and 5. So this is it going above and beyond what I asked it to do. Maybe some people would find that annoying that it does things you didn't ask it to do. But this is how working with someone who knows the product decently would feel like. Like, oh, I know you've only asked for 1 minute, but I bet you want 5 minutes too. And it didn't add 10 minutes, which is fine, 1 and 5. So now upcoming reminders. Can I open a reminders panel? Let's see. Okay. There is none in there, so that's maybe a little problem. There are no items in the upcoming. All right, so it told me to confirm, and I clicked on it, and there was nothing there, so we might still have a problem here. I see the issue. The server restarted and the test event was lost since we're using in-memory storage. Well, there, it confirmed it knows it's storage too. That's what we're going to do next. As soon as I make sure we're working here, we're going to add a backing store to this. I think in-memory it would even be fine. The problem is I have a feeling it's going to crash from time to time, or someone's going to, if I lose power at home, I don't want to have to re-import all my calendars. So I'm going to ask it to create probably just like a SQLite database backing. I don't need it in the cloud or anything like that. I'm just going to have it run locally. I should have enough memory on my little mini PC. So it's going to run the database locally. All I really wanted to keep are the searchable index. It can probably just search in state, but I think there's going to be too many events because I'm going to probably have like 10 calendars on this thing. So there's going to be too many events for it to just search everything in memory. I'll just have it search to the SQLite. I think it's fine if it's a little slow. But the SQLite can just run locally. We'll run a little node process locally. It's something that you could deploy into the cloud, and instead of SQLite, have it use like an Amazon relational database or something. Relational is just fine. All right. I've added the debug log. I created the test. Worker correctly receives. Please open the reminders panel. There's no bell icon. It doesn't remember I told it to remove icons. There's nothing there again. This will show us as the panel's receiving events. All right, I'm not going to do what it says here because I think we might have the same problem. It created it and then it restarted. I'm going to just test it myself. Test upcoming reminders. So sometimes you don't do what AI tells you to do. That's for today. We're going to make it 10:18. We're going to make it 1 minute before. Can I choose both? I can. So let's do 10:25. See if we can get both. Save event. I haven't tried this before, so I might just be... All right, but that does work. All right, so they are showing up in the list. The problem here, this would never work. It's going to keep doing this. It's going to create a test event. It's going to restart the service, and then this test event's going to be gone. But this is working. We're going to get a reminder in 3 minutes and a reminder in 7 minutes. So I think that is cool. Let's see what happens if I edit the event while it's in here. So let's edit event, it's 10:16. Let's say we want it to be 10:23. 5 and 1 minute before. Yeah, okay. So it got rid of the other one successfully. It showed us this is up to date. I was actually wondering if I would have 4 in here because it didn't remove the older reminders. So this looks great. So in 1 minute we should get a little boop. There's no sound or anything, so I'll have to make the sound for you. But if that works, then we're good to go. Now everything's working here. And because this reminder, actually, I bet you it's not on the other app because it's in memory state. So I bet you if I go to this app, that one won't even show up. So what I'll do is I'll add the test to, I'll import a calendar, I'll add the test. Oh, no, I won't have the imported calendar over here either, so that's just not going to work. But let's see if this thing shows up. So at 10:18, I should get the 5 minute before reminder. And then the upcoming reminder should only have the other one. But I'm confident that's going to work because it's been working fine. It just didn't have the 5 and the 1 minutes. So 10:18, let's go. So this is something I think if I had coded all this and I was just in the code, by the time I got here, I could have added this myself faster and I wouldn't worry about breaking these things. But again, it doesn't feel that off of if you're trying to move fast and you just added 1 in 5 minutes and you tested that all, posting it worked, the real-time reminders worked, you might have just forgotten to add it to the reminders. And now I have to just wait 10:18, there we go, 5 minutes before. It's auto-dismissing itself. I'm not even going to wait for that. So that's good. And then upcoming reminders. All right, everything's looking good. This looks great. So now we're on a good spot. So the next thing I want to do, I have reminders, I have import. We'll just call it fed for life again. So what we should see, oh, that's interesting. So it removed it from the recommended, but it seems to have kept the 2 reminders. All right, I'll have to come back to that. That seems like a bug, but I don't know how often that's going to really happen if you keep changing the reminder. But it seems like it kept a list of reminders, and even though it updated the list properly, it still had 2 triggers sitting there waiting. So I have a feeling that there's a bug there, but that's pretty low. If this was a real product at work, I would add this as a bug. It would go on a fairly low list. I'd have a backlog of bugs. I might start doing that as we get closer to ending this project, how I would run a project at work. So basically just imagine there's a backlog of bugs. We add this, hey, you get 2 triggers. I think that's fine. That's not as big a deal. So let's add our calendar back in here. We're going to enable OAuth. You can't see this window, but I am going through the little verified steps. Get the little callback, authorization successful. It updates here, and I'm going to hit sync. We're going to close. Test upcoming reminders. Event starts at 10:23. All right, we do have some. Oh, no, I see. This is not my event. This must have been the one that it created, right? Test upcoming reminder at 2:20. It's on a different time zone than me. 10:23. Test upcoming reminders 1 in 5 minutes. That is mine. Okay. All right, well, we have some sort of bug going on here, but here we can see this is my Fed event, 10:05. I'm going to edit it again. Now we have additional options here. Let's make sure this works with Google. So 10:25, we're just going to get it 1 minute before, and we're going to update it. There we go. I'm going to go to my other calendar too. I'm going to go look at the calendar. You can't see this, but I'm checking the Google Calendar that this is actually synced to. And I'm going to make sure this event went through. There it is, test notification event. This says it is 10:05. What does this one say? So I don't know if that got updated. Test notification fed event is at 10:25. So edits might not be going through because it doesn't show up. It might just take a couple seconds though, so I'm gonna wait. All right, we got another one. All right, so we have an issue here. This is not dismissing my reminders. Okay, it definitely has a bug. All right, this is moving up in my priority list. This is working now. However, the reminders, the prominent reminder is triggering at every interval after the time has passed, even when it's been dismissed. Well, I don't know if that's true. This is the 1 minute before. All right, let's just see if we get, 1 minute. Yeah, it is. Okay. So that's definitely the problem. So now it's correctly triggering when the threshold has been passed, but now it looks like what's happening is every 15 seconds, which is when it checks, it's triggering again. So I don't know if it's creating a worker for every single reminder, which that's not what I want it to do. It definitely is chopping up a little bit. What I would like to have it do is have one worker that's just constantly checking for reminders. So this might be something I'm going to have to dive into the code of to see what it's doing. The easiest way to do this would just be have one process running that's checking every 15 seconds to see if there's any event threshold that you just recently passed, and then storing that it did that, or just making a list of things it has to look at and checking their times, because there shouldn't be that many of them. And now it looks like it's either spawning a process for each reminder that it comes across, which would be bad. There's no need to do it that way, because then you have to make sure you delete them, and anytime you have anything like that, you got to manage. And it did not update the calendar event on my Google Calendar. So let's see if we can make it do that too. But right now, there's duplicate code causing syntax error. Okay, so it could just be a bug where it doesn't dismiss it. That's fine too. But I don't know why it's test. I guess it's test didn't check that. But now what I'm concerned about is editing the event did not persist. And I shouldn't have to hit sync every time. Okay, fixed upcoming reminders list, which that was working. Prevent duplicate notifications by filtering already active reminders. Cleaned up debug console for production ready system. Interesting. Created a test event at 2:26 with a 1 minute reminder. Worker properly tracks checked reminders. Okay, so we don't have anything in here because, as we know, it cleans it out. So that's good. I'm going to move forward from this and start adding the database persistence, because that's going to be most helpful next. So I'll create another one. Test local reminder, so I know I don't have the same name. We're going to do it at 10:32. We're going to do it at 1 minute and 5 minutes before. Save event. Okay, it's been successfully created. 5 minutes before is coming in 1 minute. So we should only get that reminder once, hopefully. Let's import my Fed calendar. Do OAuth. This is a pretty simple process, pretty quick. When the internet is working. Okay. Great. That's been done. Let's sync the calendar. Okay, so I should be getting a notification now. It says now, but it didn't come up yet. Oh, okay. Well, now we're getting into the vibe coding problems. It's not giving me the reminder anymore. It keeps breaking the thing it says it fixed, and then fixing it breaks something else. Test local events 1 minute before. It says now. It didn't come up yet, so let's see. We'll give it a few seconds. But we are no longer getting notifications. All right, one more pass at this. The notifications no longer trigger a display at the correct time. Let's see if it drops off the list. Oh, wait, there it goes. Okay, there's the 5 minutes before 10:32. Okay. So that's fine. That went away. So I don't know, maybe it changed it to working every 30 seconds instead of 15. Oh, not again. Test local reminder. It is triggering, but it still continues to trigger after the time has passed. Can you make sure you are only running a single process to check for these notifications and properly cleaning up any notifications you've already displayed? Alright, because that was working before. At least I think it was. Let's use the worker continues to trigger the same reminders. It stays within the 15-minute window. It keeps re-triggering. Okay. Interesting. Why 15 minutes? I wonder if it hard-coded on that 15-minute interval before. So this might be a side effect of me having shortened the time windows. It might have made the optimization that it only needed to check for every 15 minutes. We got use effects in there. Handle new reminders from the web worker. Filters out reminders that are already active to prevent duplicates. Okay. I like that it's using a use effect. It has a React hook order issue. I don't know why the hook order would matter. Now I need to add dismiss reminder method to the worker class. Okay. I mean, it sounds like it's doing the right things. It's updating the hooks. It's adding a dismiss reminder. And it's debugging itself. Alright, I'm not even going to bother. We're not going to go through this anymore. I'm going to have it add some local database because I might have to jump in here and fix some of this code, but this is pretty low-hanging fruit with these reminders. It's now every time it does this, it's clearing out the events that it creates. So I'm gonna go into Git. I'm actually going to see if I can tag this. These look like they're all coming here. I'm going to sync this with remote. So I'm going to push this. I have this pass confirm for this session. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure this got into my GitHub. That way everything's backed up. If we completely lose things here, I can look through the GitHub side of it. So we're going to get rid of this for now too. So we're just going to focus on this. So we have the preview. We have our secrets console here. Blah, blah, blah. All right, so now we're going to get into what I want to accomplish this session of vibe coding. That was just kind of a little